For centuries, Greeks dreamed of reclaiming Constantinople. Poets wrote about it. Revolutionaries fought for it. And to this day, some Greeks still sing songs about the city lost in 1453. But what if history had played out differently? What if the Greek flag flew over the Bosphorus today? Would Greece be a Mediterranean superpower? Would Turkey even exist as we know it? And most importantly, who would finally win the Baklava Wars? Buckle up because we're about to rewrite history. Let's start with the first big question. How could Constantinople have remained Greek or become Greek again? Because, believe it or not, history gave us multiple chances where this could have happened. One possibility goes way back to 1453. What if the Byzantine Empire had somehow survived the Ottoman siege? What if Constantinople had been reinforced by European allies, delaying the inevitable? Could a strong Byzantine resurgence have kept Greek rule over the city for centuries more? Fast forward a few hundred years. What about during the Greek War of Independence in the 1820s? Greece fought hard against the Ottomans and, with the help of European powers, managed to break free. But what if the war had expanded further? What if Britain, France, and Russia had pushed harder and included Constantinople in the newly independent Greek state? And then there's the Treaty of Sèvres after World War I. This was a moment when the Ottoman Empire was practically carved up, and Greece was given control over parts of western Anatolia, including Smyrna. Constantinople, however, was placed under Allied control. But imagine if, instead of making it an international zone, the Allies had simply handed it over to Greece. No Ataturk, no Turkish War of Independence, just a greater Greece stretching into the heart of what is now Turkey. Or, let's go even further. What if Greece had actually won the Greco-Turkish War, 1919 to 1922? At the time, Greek forces were advancing deep into Anatolia, but they were eventually pushed back. If things had gone differently, if military strategies had been better or international support had been stronger, the modern map might look very, very different. But let's stop talking about how it could have happened. Let's imagine that it did happen. What would the world look like today if Constantinople was Greek? First things first, geopolitics. And let's not sugarcoat it, this would be absolutely world-changing. For starters, let's talk about Turkey. A Greek Constantinople would mean a much smaller Turkey. No Istanbul, no European territory, no control over the Bosphorus. Would Turkey still be the powerful regional player it is today? Or would it be a weaker, landlocked state with a capital in Ankara and a much smaller economy? And what about Greece? Greece, with Constantinople, would control one of the most strategically important waterways in the world, the Bosphorus Strait. Every year, thousands of ships pass through transporting oil, goods, and military assets. Would Greece, instead of Turkey, be the gatekeeper of East and West? Then there's NATO. Today, Turkey is one of the most important NATO members, thanks to its strategic location between Europe, the Middle East, and Russia. But if Constantinople had been Greek, would Turkey still be in NATO at all? Would Greece, instead, be the dominant power in the Eastern Mediterranean? And let's not forget about Russia. Historically, Russia has always wanted access to the warm waters of the Mediterranean. It's why they supported Orthodox nations like Greece, Serbia, and Bulgaria. If Greece controlled Constantinople, would Russia have had an even stronger influence in the region? Would they have backed a Greek Constantinople just to weaken Turkey? Now let's talk economics. Because if there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that Istanbul, is an economic beast. It's one of the largest cities in the world, home to over 15 million people and a major financial hub. If it were Greek, Greece's economy would be completely transformed. First off, Greece would control the Bosphorus Strait, meaning trade power. Every year, massive oil shipments pass through from Russia and the Middle East to Europe. That's a major economic advantage. Secondly, tourism. Greece already relies heavily on tourism, and with Constantinople as part of Greece, it would become an even bigger global attraction. Imagine the Hagia Sophia fully restored as a Greek Orthodox cathedral, Byzantine and Ottoman history on full display, Greek and Turkish fusion food markets everywhere. This would be one of the most visited cities in the world. But here's the real question. Would Greece be able to handle it? Would the Greek government have been able to manage a massive, complex, multicultural metropolis like Constantinople? Or would it have faced political instability, similar to the challenges that modern Istanbul faces? And speaking of culture, let's dive into what life in a Greek Constantinople would actually look like. Would Turkish culture still be present in the city, or would it have been fully Hellenized over time? Would the Turkish language still be spoken, or would Greek have taken over? And what about the name of the city? Would it officially be Constantinople, Or would people still stubbornly call it Istanbul? Let's not forget about food wars. Would kebabs, baklava, and Turkish tea all be rebranded as Greek? Would the arguments over who invented what get even worse? And let's be real, Greek and Turkish grandmothers would probably still be competing to prove whose recipe is actually the original. But let's take a more serious turn. Could this have led to more conflicts? Would Turkey ever try to retake Constantinople? Would there be constant military skirmishes along the border? Would it be a divided city like Jerusalem with both Greeks and Turks fighting over control? Or could it have become a neutral city-state? What if Constantinople had remained independent, much like the Vatican, serving as a bridge between East and West? A place where Greek and Turkish heritage coexisted in a unique political entity? At the end of the day, this alternate history is full of what-ifs. Would a Greek-controlled Constantinople be a thriving, prosperous cultural center? Or a city in constant turmoil, caught in the tensions between Greece and Turkey? But one thing is for sure, Greek and Turkish people would still be arguing over who makes the best coffee. And let's face it, we all know it's the same coffee. So what do you think? Would the world be better or worse if Constantinople was part of Greece today? Let me know in the comments below.